Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to the one, the only Hawg Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios. We are part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as Buzz 2 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in Ozark, Arkansas. I'm your host, Porter Hayes. Alongside me is Jacob Davis, and our broadcast is brought to you by BetOnline. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup, players, news, game trends at BetOnline. Fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. So head on over to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use a promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. Bet online, where the game starts. And speaking of games, get the sweep. Arkansas gets a sweep over Mississippi State on the road. Well needed. I mean, it's crazy how we look back at the Missouri State loss, the Little Rock loss, the Lipscomb loss, and each time they've bounced back. You bounce back again with a sweep, moving you to 36-12 and 17-7 overall, heading into your last two weekends away. And we were talking about the softball already being the SEC tournament. Jacob, it's crazy that there's only two more weekends left in the baseball season, and they're shaping up to look pretty good and number one in the West.
Yeah, so, man, it's just been crazy because I saw a lot of people that they were putting LSU as like, hey, they're going to take care of Auburn. They're going to remain the number one team. Like, there was actual people in the Arkansas media. I can't remember who said it, but there was actual Arkansas media people that were saying, LSU, there's no way Arkansas is going to catch LSU. They're just too far back. And then LSU slips up 2 games. Auburn wins the series. Arkansas is leading the SEC West. So that's huge. And they're also tied with Vanderbilt for number one in the SEC. That's huge. They're doing it with a bunch of guys that you never heard of because of all the injuries. And they're hitting the stride at the right time with a bunch of different guys. And It's awesome to see that happen.
If you get that 1 or 2 seed in the SEC tournament, that's huge, because what do we talk about? The bigger you are when you're heading and peeking into the SEC tournament, the less that means anything. You're playing with half a team, all these guys that are injured, and you're having the success you are. Luckily, you get South Carolina at home. They got swept this weekend. They started off – it's kind of like an opposite of Arkansas. They started off hot, and now they're gradually starting to just – their pitching's falling apart. They're just not coming through. And, again, it could be part of their schedule. I don't know really without deep diving into their schedule on what series they had and who and where, but you're getting Arkansas at the right time, and Arkansas is getting South Carolina at the right time on the downward trend. That really helps you. If you were to win that series, I'm not saying you have to sweep South Carolina, but you take the series over South Carolina heading into that last weekend at Vandy. That takes a lot of pressure on your seeding when it comes to the SEC tournament, and where you're locked when it comes into regional and super regional.
Yeah, we don't have to hear the belly aching this week because there's no midweek game to lose. So there was when they were playing Lipscomb, I mean, they hung with them. Arkansas started out early ahead, and then Lipscomb battled their way back because Arkansas's pitching was. And they just were never able to capitalize. Arkansas wasn't. But this weekend, you had Kendall Diggs. I mean, just a completely he terrorized Mississippi State, not just on Saturday, but today. You talk about Jace Borfin, a guy that you seldom heard about last year, was kind of like a forgotten piece of the puzzle. This year, he's nearly batting 400, and he's the team leader on home runs. You think about Brady Slavens, a guy that hit an opposite field home run. He is the team leader, the heart and soul of this roster. and you just keep naming these guys. You talk about the Neville kid that played left field. You talk about having to move guys over because Josenberger's hurt, having to move guys over because Wagner's hurt. Like it's just amazing to see. This is the best coaching job. And I thought the best coaching job DVH ever did was a couple of years ago when he had like Kevin Kopps and nobody else in the rotation. This may be deep top to bottom. This is the best coaching job that Van Horn's done, because this team had every right to just pack it up and go home and not salvage the rest of the season. These guys have taken it and by taking the bull by the horns, and they are now leading the SEC. That is an incredible job, and bravo to Dave Van Horn for rallying these troops.
I think this is a true testament of the baseball program.
Yeah.
Razorback fans, I mean, you can look at your track program and just expect national championships and all that, but we're not used to reloading. I think I touched on it a little bit last week. You know, you hear the name Robert Moore, you hear Kerstad, you hear Kopps, you hear, Knight, hear all the pitchers that you've had, and you've named like one or two big star guys off each team. This team is a bunch of grinders. And the fact that you have a team top to bottom, this is what is happening when you're building like you're elite. This is what happens when you're elite. Arkansas, you could say baseball the last 4, 5, 6 years have been an elite program, but now you're really seeing the reaps and the rewards of having an elite program. You look at what we wish we could have in football. You look at what we wish we could have in basketball. You're getting it in baseball. And it's taken till now, you're like, we're playing with half of the team. But when you look at it, look what Alabama's done in football. Look what Kentucky and Kansas and the Blue Bloods and Gonzaga's done in basketball. They get a couple of guys hurt. They just keep on riding trucking and keep on plugging in All-Americans. That's what Arkansas is doing now. So to us and the fans and some people, they could see this as a surprise and something standing out. But those guys in that locker room and that guys on those staff are like, hey, this is what we've built. It doesn't matter if you're the first guy or you're the 23rd guy. It's a business-like approach, and we want to come in and win every series. And I'll tell you what, this was an impressive win. I don't care where you're at. Look, you got beat by Georgia, who was the worst team in the East. And you turn around now and you're playing and you're sweeping Mississippi State on the road. And we could talk about the record, 12-1 since 2019. And you said it was, 1,824 days
yes.
since the last lost in Starkville. And you look at it now, you're like, okay. Diggs, we could have scheduled a tweet for him to hit a home run and for a run batted in. It was just every time Mississippi State, and this is what point I want to make, and I'll turn it over to you. This is where you could tell a team is an elite team. Anytime Mississippi State tried to mount a comeback, tried to get back in the game, Arkansas shut the door on the road and kept it and won 10-4, was 11-6 today, So that just shows you this team is peaking at the right, and wait till they get all their guys back full strength. Come regional, super regional, this could be, this is going to be a scary team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to think about it, like they're hitting their stride at the right time. You don't want to hit your stride in early February, in March. Like this is the right time for this team to hit on all cylinders, because just like last season where, Arkansas was just in limbo for the majority of the mid-SEC play till the end. Like they went, what were they, one and done in the SEC tournament, and then they just make their run where they play 16 straight games away from Fayetteville, and they go out there and they take the regional at Oklahoma State, and then they go on the road and who do they play? It was North Carolina to get to the College World Series last season, and then every single game it was just them. It was them against the world, man, and that they had a chip on their shoulder. This team wants to prove themselves, and that's what's so cool is like these guys that I had never even heard of. I knew Neville was on the roster, but okay. He played well. And you think about the Ben McLaughlin. I knew he was on the roster, but he's making a name for himself. John Bolton, a guy that's not even hitting 200. But here in the past couple of weeks, the guy's finding himself on base. Like every single guy is playing their role up to the point of masterfully. Like they're playing it masterfully, and it's just it's cool to watch guys that are just breaking through and playing their role at a max level.
Well, here's the thing that it's going to blow your mind when we talk about the team and the roster. This team's played 48 games. How many guys have played all 48 games?
Well, I've got the stats pulled up right now, and you've got one guy, Jace Borfin.
He played 47 of the 40.
47? Oh, 47 of the 48.
No.
Oh.
But what I'm getting at is the fact that not one player has played all 48 games. You look at how much Arkansas relied on Kevin Kopps. You see the names of Robert Moore and Slavens and all these guys. You're wanting – when they come up to bat, you're relying on them to get you a hit or an RBI or a home run. Top to bottom, this team is solid. You've got guys coming in off the bench. Look at Harold Cole, 25 games he's played in. Wagner's played in 33. Rowland's played in 33 games. Hudson Polk's played in 22 games. Ben McLaughlin's played in 20. You got a lot of guys that have played in 20 or more games. So it's not like you go to the bench and these guys haven't played but 10 or 15 games. You've got a lot of guys that are coming through, and you've got your top 4 hitters that are hitting over 300. Caleb Calley's, hitting 306. Josenberger's 322. Diggs is 329, and Borfin's hitting 373 with 44 RBIs and 13 home runs. Yeah. I mean, that's incredible top to bottom that this team is doing. And I was thinking about this on the way home from work. It would be a team like this that would win it all. You look at all the top teams that have come through, and, of course, the Pop Fly, and you're almost there, star-studded, All-Americans all up and down your roster. It would be, how fitting would it be for a team that's built like this that would end up winning the national championship? Look at Mississippi State when they won it. Weren't they like one of the last teams in, and they ended up going all the way and winning the national championship when they won it?
It's all about hitting. And Arkansas is the one that beat them. They swept them in Starkville that season.
Yeah,
and they still went on to win a championship after starting 1-7 or 2-6 or something like that in SEC play. That's how dominant Mississippi State ended up being.
The thing that kind of worries you is that you wouldn't have to face until you got to Omaha. The way things are going right now, if they play out the season, Arkansas will be a top 8 seed. They're 6-7 away, and they're 2-2 in the neutral site. So, at home they're 28-3. They're really good on the home. So, and we all know how the schedule at Omaha plays out. So it just depends on, of course, how strong you get that pitching rotation. And with Wood coming in and shutting the door, that kid. I mean, he should be one of the. When you talk about the all freshman team, definitely should be, on the verge. 5 saves. He's a 2.62 ERA. He's had 18 appearances and 5 saves. I mean, he's really turned. And you talking about he's not a freshman anymore. I mean, that kid has just come in and earned his stripes and come in, and we've talked about him being that Arkansas kid and what he's meant to this team. But just the pitch, and it's crazy. You look at the ERAs of the pitching staff. Hagan Smith's got a 2.56 ERA and he's 7-1. Dylan Carter's 3.65 ERA and he's 6-0. So you look at their ERA and you're like, man, they give up a lot of runs. But your top 3 guys are 12, 19, and 3.
Yeah.
Your top 3 guys in the rotation. And then you could throw Cody Adcock in there. He's 4-1. Will McIntyre 6-2. So, I mean, that
and he was solid yesterday.
Solid. I mean, it's crazy the fact, when Hagan Smith's leading the team with 79 strikeouts, and then Hunter Holland's got 50. Well, Will McIntyre's got 54, and then you got Adcock with 40. I mean, it's just again, the pitching staff is just like your batting order. Solid top to bottom. Yeah, they might get touched up, but when you got a lineup like Arkansas has, you could give up. I think that takes pressure when your pitching staff can count on your offense to get runs. Your offense can, count on your pitching staff, and then you got a guy like Gage Wood to come shut the door. All it does is take the pressure off where you can have more fun, you can win more games.
Yeah. I've got D1 baseball field of 64 projection right now. Arkansas's got the 5 seed, so obviously they'll host a regional and a super regional if they get through.
Who's 12 seed?
The 12 seed's Oregon. But listen to this: the Fayetteville Regional, Arkansas as the number 1 seed, Southeastern Missouri State is the 4, Oregon State is the number 2, Kansas State is the number 3 seed. Talk about a loaded regional there. The Oregon Regional has themselves Loyola Marymount, Cal State Fullerton, which has been a power in college baseball, if you're familiar with that, and Texas Tech.
Seems like
pretty solid.
Better draw than the 5 seed.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Oregon State, man, wouldn't that be something if you had to play a best of 3 series to go to the Supers?
Yeah.
I mean,
but the thing is, you got the team to do it. And all you got to do is get there. You get to Omaha, and if you got a pitching rotation like they've got, where you've got a solid 4 guys that can get you a win, and then you got even Zach Morris come in and pitch some good innings today. McLaughlin's come in. I mean, you got guys. I mean, Zach Morris come in and got 2 saves. You've got guys that can come in and produce, and that. It's crazy. You say all you got to do is get to Omaha, and everything else plays itself out.
Yeah.
In the pool and all that. It's just I want Arkansas to get, and I've said this and said this and said this. I want Arkansas to get Dave Van Horn a national championship so bad, because the guy has put in the work, built this program for 20 years, 20-plus years, and he deserves it. I mean, he deserves a freaking national championship. And if he does, you might as well build the statue tomorrow.
Oh yeah, the statue's going to be unveiled the day after Omaha. If he wins the national championship, you can expect a statue there in front of Baum Walker. But look, I mean, you're talking about pitching here, and I don't really know where I would rank the pitching staff right now, because obviously I don't feel like they're as great. Like, I feel like they are as good as maybe the 2021 team that did get to the Supers with Kevin Kopps. But you think about that pitching staff. They had Kevin Kopps, and it was everybody else. That's it. Like, Kevin Kopps carried that pitching staff in 2021. You think about the 2018 team. They had 3 solid pitchers, 3 solid starters. You had the kid from Bryant. I can't remember his name. Blaine Knight. And then you had the Casey Murphy and Isaiah Campbell. Yeah, you had those 3 guys, and then you think about the guys behind him. It was the guy that was puffing on his inhaler and then get slapped by the coaches, Cody Scroggins. Oh man, that guy was solid. I mean, this team is like right in the middle of that, in between those two. Like, I think they're better than the 2021 coaching pitching staff, but I think they're slightly a peg off of the 2018 team. But overall, like the batting order, I think the batting order was a lot stronger at the top when the 2018 team played, because you had Heston Kjerstad, you had Casey Martin as freshman, and you had several guys like Jared. Man, I'm going blank on their names, but like the first baseman there. And then there was a solid batting order there, but they were top heavy. This one, you can go up and down 1 to 9, and they're solid. They're solid. Like, there's nobody there that I feel like, okay, if you're at a bad moment in the game and you need a hit, I don't think there's any single person, like Will Reed said, Jared Gates. I knew it started with a G. Thanks, Will. But there's really nobody in the batting order that can say, I don't want him up there if the game's on the line.
Now, pitching staff top to bottom. This is a salty top to bottom, but it's hard to sit there and say that is any of these guys better than the Blaine Knight, Isaiah Campbell, and Kevin Kopps. We can't do that. We can't get that too much of prisoner in a moment, but we've got guys that can come in and shut the door. You got a guy like Gage Wood that can come in, and that's what Kevin Kopps was. And then they realized, hey, we can use him 2 games in the series. And then he
Yeah.
just took over the college baseball nation. You know, it's just like I said just a few minutes ago, with the top to bottom, this is a salty squad. And if you're got 4 or 5 of your guys hitting over 300, then you got your pitching staff, you got guys getting you 6, 7 wins. You get them in the SEC tournament, and if they want to go on a deep run, but I don't know. I don't want to say they're going to go in there to lose it, but they're definitely not going to go in there and waste their pitching, knowing that they have regionals and supers, because they want to get to Omaha and win it. I think you take care of business against South Carolina, and you maybe say you win one against Vandy and lose that series. I don't think you can go to Vandy and get swept and then be top 5 seed. You might get pushed down the lower half. I think no matter what, I think Arkansas is going to take care of South Carolina, but they got to do that first and foremost. They take care of South Carolina, I think they're a lock for a top 8 national seed, no matter what happens in Hoover or against Vandy. That's just how good this team's playing. And again, what we said, you don't want to go in the SEC tournament having to play your hardest in the SEC tournament to get you a national seed or to move up or down. So
yeah. I think they'll be all right as far as the national seeds go, because I think they have gained the respect as a program for years of longevity. I think they're fine. I think they will get a top 8 national seed. I would rather them not end up getting a 9 seed, because then they'll have to play away from Baum. But I think there's 2 things in Arkansas's favor: is the longevity of Arkansas under Dave Van Horn and the atmosphere that Baum Stadium gives you. And I think that plays in Arkansas's favor, especially for a national seed.
I think it's going to take a debacle before you lose that national seed. That's just the way Arkansas is playing. Again, you're sitting at, pull up the banner. You're 36-12, 17-7. So even if you lose 3 of them, you're still 17-10. That 3 of the games, or you'd be 20-10. You'd be 20-10 in the SEC. And with how they're playing, plus you never know how LSU is going to do. You never know how. So do you still have that D1 pulled up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you're saying Arkansas is the 5, they would play a 12. Who is 11 and 13? Who is around that? When we say that bubble of who's the 11 seed and who's the 13?
So Florida is the 6 seed, Miami is 11.
So Miami, okay.
Okay, and then I'll pull it up. Columbia, South Carolina is the 4th seed, and then the Stillwater Regional, Oklahoma State is a 13 seed.
Could be possibly setting up for another Oklahoma State. You're saying South Carolina is a 4 seed?
Yes. This is last week, though. This came out on Monday of this past week, and so they haven't updated anything yet. So this is before South Carolina got swept.
But I think the downward trend, though. They're 25-3. They're 9-8 away, but just the way they've been playing lately,
right?
Goodness gracious. That's going to prove a lot, though, because it just means that you can't take next week's series lightly. But they did. They swept Georgia, which is something Arkansas, and then they dropped a game to Mississippi State. I'm trying to see where it fell off. They hung tight with, and I'll tell you what, they could have won that LSU series. That's just how good this team was playing at the beginning of April. The third game of that series got canceled. They lost to Vandy, and then they swept Florida, and then got beat by Auburn. But they ended up winning they didn't get swept. They got beat by Auburn, and then they got swept by Kentucky. And it wasn't even close. They lost 7-3, 14-7, and 9-2. So, again, we can take that for what it's worth when it comes to playing the SEC, but goodness gracious, to get swept like that, there's no way. And if Arkansas, so you can even move Arkansas to a 4 seed, or, that's going to be tough when it comes to these last 2 weekends.
Yeah, you would probably see a different regional kind of, because South Carolina, their regional would have Davidson, Clemson, and Wofford. That's all aren't all four of those schools. And well, I mean, I know Wofford's in South Carolina, isn't it?
Wofford.
So you'd probably see Arkansas move up to a 4, and then probably bring all their, or at least Southeastern Missouri State.
Your regionals would stay the same because it's more of a regional. But I was looking at, all right, if the 13 seed got to host, who could drop down to the 12 where it could face Arkansas? But I'm also looking. South Carolina has Arkansas and Tennessee to end of the season, so it's not getting any easier for South Carolina. So they got to play Arkansas in Fayetteville, and they get Tennessee at home the last 3 games of the season. So
yeah,
a lot of
Tennessee's looking to host too. If they can figure out a way to have a good next 2 weekends, they are currently the number 2 seed in the Terry Hott Regional, Indiana State hosting. So they are the number 2 seed there with Iowa and Central Michigan as the 4 seeds in the Indiana State Regional. So they're just on the outside looking in. So if they could benefit from a couple of wins down the stretch here.
Yeah, and it's shaping out. I mean, you look at the East, the top 4 teams are separated by 3 games. Kentucky, with their win over South Carolina, is 14-10. South Carolina is 14-9. Florida's 15-9. Vanderbilt 17-7. Arkansas has a matching rubber 17-7, and LSU is 16-7. But then the bottom half of the SEC is 11-13, 11-13, 6-18. So the Mississippi schools are 6-18, and the Alabama schools are 11-13. So the West is kind of slacking a little bit when it comes to the East and the West, but we know that all doesn't matter when it comes to the SEC tournament and pool play. But and when you told me that they had Carolina as a 4 seed, that was hard for me to believe. Just the way teams are playing right now. A month ago, totally could see it. A month ago, how South Carolina was playing with LSU, and again could have won that rubber match game if it not been canceled. But they've just been struggling as late. But they got a midweek series game against North Florida, so they'll have a tune-up game before they hit the Fayetteville against North Florida. And the games are at 7:30, 7 and 3. And I did see that every game is going to be on the SEC Network Plus. So none of these will be on ESPN. Now, that might be – I don't know how they change that. If they do end up changing those during the week on when it comes to maybe bumping one of those up to SEC Network. But all 3 games will be on SEC Network Plus starting on Friday at 7:30, Saturday at 7, and Sunday at 3 o'clock. So hopefully we're – this time next week, we're talking about another sweep.
Yeah, I would love it. Arkansas, they have momentum on their side right now. They don't have a midweek series to kind of dwindle on. But, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Tyler Spears says, I think we sweep South Carolina at home. Will be a deadlock for a national seed at that point. Absolutely. I think you can move up possibly to a top 2 seed.
Yeah.
Like that is how close it is. Because the SEC is so strong. It's going. I mean, Arkansas. If they beat Vanderbilt and they beat South Carolina, that's obviously a top 3 seed. Maybe.
Yes.
I don't know how they can move forward with Wake Forest being the 2 unless something happens, and then LSU. Their matchups are kind of weird because they'll lose one every now and then they lose to Auburn, who's actually in the field of 64 here. They're a 3 seed, I believe. Trying to see which regional they were in. Yes, they're in the Miami regional with Army, Indiana, and Auburn. But with their big series winning against LSU this weekend, they might move up. So it's interesting to see. Arkansas did win a game on the road against LSU. Does that play a factor into the national seeds? I don't know if LSU can be pegged down to a 2, or in Winston or Wake Forest go up the seed. I don't know that. Steve Culver says Wagner going to come back. He should be back. I think Kevin Bohannon. I don't know if I don't inappropriately make him the guy that said it. Somebody on the bus said that Wagner could be back by the end of the season. possibly the Vanderbilt series. Now, if Kevin Bohannon didn't say that, sorry, Cabo, but I feel like somebody at the Buzz did say that is an informant for the Razorback baseball team. So hopefully news is on the way for that.
I highly doubt that LSU is going to lose their national seed because they got Mississippi State and then Georgia to round out the season. So,
no wonder that's.
So I mean, but here's like I said, that's fine because you know what, Arkansas has been playing well without that big target on their back. They don't have a guy like Dylan Cruz, you know, and the guy at Florida. You know, you don't have that guy that is giving you. You know, look, like I said, we bring up Copp's name and Campbell and Blaine Knight. You got those guys that, you know, you rode the team and you had the national notoriety. Now it's just like I said, it's a bunch of solid dudes, and that's what it's going to take to win the national championship. You know, you don't have, you're Arkansas and you're always going to have that target on your back, but it's not as big as it has been. And I think, again, that's going to benefit them. So, you know, you want to be up there in the top 5, top 4. But you don't want to, like I said, no number 1 overall seeds won it since 99, 2000 or long time ago.
When Miami won it, it's like 99.
So, but I mean, so Arkansas sitting in a very, very good spot. And again, a month ago when, you know, people were saying Dave Van Hoord, you know, and the coaching and, you know, all the pitching coach, and we need to do this, and they don't know what they're talking about. Well, you're sitting at first place in the SEC West. So, I mean, apparently they know a little bit of what they're talking about, and they've been doing it for the past 5-6 years. So maybe it's time that, you know, they do drop a Lipscomb game or a Little Rock game or to Missouri State. We kind of just like, hey, look, these are midweek tune-up games. We're looking at the SEC schedule. We're looking at the regional schedules, super regionals in Omaha. That's our goal. And if we got to build that depth up and drop a couple of these midweek games, that's what they do it for, you know. That's how you develop talent. And if you lose these games, as long as you're winning, you know, Lipscomb ain't going to affect your SEC seeding. You know, I mean, these little singular games are not going to really – now, if you drop every single one of them, yeah, there's a problem. But when it comes to this point in the season, you take care of business when you need to take care of business, and they have. So it just depends on, like I said, what team you get and how well they play these last 2 weekends. But we are up against a break. After the break, we have some interesting crystal ball news when it comes to the world of basketball, and we'll kind of talk about that afterwards and see how next year's team could be shaping up. We'll catch you after the break.
At Fordham Lee Distillery, our bourbons look as amazing as they taste. A delicious, high
Shelby Taylor Trucking serves all your timberland needs in South Central Arkansas. With over 50 years in the industry, Shelby Taylor Trucking.
Having a little bit of technical difficulty. So it will take your daily routine to the next level. Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company.
At Fordham Lee Distillery, our bourbons look as amazing as they taste. A delicious, high rye bourbon aged over 6 years. Fordham Lee is a company founded on the principles of great folks and spirits worth remembering. Look for Fordham Lee brands at Walk-Ons, Liquor World, Buster's, and soon everywhere in Northwest Arkansas that serves fine spirits. Fordham Lee Bourbon says please drink responsibly. 21 means 21. Fordham Lee Distillery, blended and bottled in Middletown, Maryland.
McCoy Tiger Drug Store of Sheridan, Arkansas has been the top pharmacy in all of South Central Arkansas since 1895. They were also the 2020 Good Neighbor Pharmacy of the Year. They not only fix you up with your prescription with timely and friendly service, but also an elite gift shop. All your OTC needs, baby and wedding registries, tuxedo rentals, and much more. They are located at 821 North Rock Street in Sheridan. Give them a call today at 870-942-5121.
Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Are you in need of legal representation? Look no further than the law offices of Robertson, Beasley, Shipley, and Robinson. As the oldest law firm in the River Valley, we have been serving our clients for over 100 years, with locations in Ozark, Fort Smith, and Springfield. Our experienced team of attorneys provide expert guidance and advocacy in a wide range of legal areas, including personal injury, family law, criminal defense, and more. Trust in our history and experience to get the results you deserve. Contact the law offices of Robertson, Beasley, Shipley, and Robinson today at 479-782-8813. That's 479-782-8813. And we want to welcome you back to the Hawg Talk podcast. Jacob, before we left, we were talking about some crystal ball news that could be coming our way when it comes to a certain star player. And I tell you what, if they end up getting him, this team, you were talking about just forgetting who we've lost. I mean, again, this could be on the baseball when we're talking about building a program. I think if they get Holland and you have this kind of staff, could we start saying that Musselman's starting to build his program like Dave Van Horn's building his program now?
Yeah, I wouldn't even be concerned about ever losing Musselman because he is showing that he can do what Nolan Richardson could do at Arkansas, and that was recruit talent and bring in competitive teams. This guy's been to 3 straight Sweet 16s. It speaks to him, to anybody, to any player. Going and putting guys in the draft. He's already put 3 guys in the draft. He could add 3 more this year, even potentially 4 more if Jordan Walsh stays in the draft and is drafted maybe early second round. You got Ricky Council. I mean, he could potentially double what he's done already. Ron Holland would be maybe the biggest prospect to commit to Arkansas ever, just because of how talented he is. I mean, he is truly one of the most gifted players I've ever watched on the hardwood. Guy out of Duncanville, Texas. And Arkansas was in it the first time. It was between Arkansas and Texas. Like they were right there. And UCLA was a close third. But it was Arkansas, Texas the whole time. And I really, in my gut, believed that he wanted to come to Arkansas the first time. And you know, he decided to stay at his home state school and play basketball there for a year. And I don't blame him, because that's what you would wish any Arkansas kid to do too. But Ron Holland to Arkansas, he's got a crystal ball from Jackson Collier at Hawg Beat on Rivals. And then today, about a couple hours later, Keegan Womack from Orange Bleed on Rivals also placed a future cast for Ron Holland to become a Razorback. So where does this – why Ron Holland to Arkansas? Just, I mean, the guy wants to win. He wants to compete for a national championship, and he knows that Eric Musselman can put him in the pros and set him up for success like no other coach can around this league. Because Calipari, yeah, he churns them out, but, you know, Eric Musselman is doing it now, and he's doing it the way his way. And I love seeing what Musselman's doing. And, you know, if Arkansas ends up getting Holland, great. If they don't, it's okay. Because I feel like Arkansas is at a spot right now that they're an attractive place for players to come and have success and flourish in the system. And Ron Holland definitely will flourish in the Arkansas system because of the freedom that he plays with, and having a talent like Holland, having Brazil, and potentially maybe a Grant Nelson if he decides to visit Arkansas when he starts. Like, you could have a legit 5-out offense and be able to have the spacing that Eric Musselman actually wants on court. That'll be something that'll be intriguing to watch over the next few weeks. And so I'm really excited to see what Arkansas does if they can get Holland and see what happens there.
And according to 247 Sports, #1 player in the nation. That's another get.
That would be back-to-back number one players in the country for Eric Musselman. When has that ever happened at Arkansas?
I can't.
Not in the recruiting era.
Yeah. These kids, you got to realize, the uncertainty of you see how many kids are coming to say, let's go back to last year, and you see all the guys that come to Arkansas, and you got like Ron Holland. Well, he's got to think how many of these guys are going to Arkansas is going to leave for the portal. How many of these guys are going to be there? So if he's thinking, well, if 4 of the 5 stay, where's my spot going to be when it comes to starting right away? These guys want to start as freshmen, and they should. I mean, we see what's happened with, look at Nick Smith Jr. and how he was with the team. Anthony Black, how he was. So you're looking at schools, where can I go in and make the biggest impact? And that's probably why he initially said Texas, because he's like, okay, I really want to go to Arkansas. I really want to play with these guys, but you look at Ron Holland and he's from Duncanville. Well, is Anthony Black going to be there? Well, I think he's one and done. I might not want to go to Arkansas because I won't get to play with Anthony Black. So let's go to Texas, stay in my hometown. Now it's come to the fact that he's seen what Anthony Black and what Arkansas has been able to do when it comes to producing these guys and getting them to the NBA. He's like, all right, do I want to stay at home or do I want to go to the NBA? Where do I want to be when it comes to my time? Who's going to get me to that lottery pick? Is it Texas or it is Arkansas? And I'm sorry, this is not a homer bias. This is my honest opinion. There's no other school in the country right now that is preparing lottery picks and preparing these guys for the draft, whether they get picked in the lottery or not, than Arkansas. The staff there at Arkansas is developing these guys and getting them ready, knowing what to expect. And this is not just on the court. This is off the court. The interview process, the grind. This is what it's going to take when you get to that NBA draft combine. They can tell you exactly what's going to happen on day 1 through day 20. And these kids, of course, the success too. Elite Eights, the Final Fours. That's where they want to get this team. And I'm telling you, if this gets to, that point to where they're getting to the Final Four national championship, you can get anybody you want.
You're absolutely right. And you look at the UConns, they're becoming more attractive. North Carolina, they were attractive 5-6 years ago. They're not nearly as attractive now. The Kansas is probably going to stay there, but you've got the UCLA's that's coming up. Like UCLA's reviving. You look at USC and look, they've got of course, Ron Holland's not the number one player on ESPN, but ESPN's overall number one players with USC. Like there's teams coming up that have been coached by these NBA guys that know how to get guys to the pros. And that's really impressive. These guys are playing within a system, and these systems are producing guys. And that is what's really impressive. You see in a different group of teams just rise up, and Arkansas just happens to be one of those teams. And we've been begging and pleading with the Arkansas administration for years. Get us a top-tier coach. Get us what's going to make us attractive. And Mike Anderson, thankfully, Mike Anderson was a guy that, he won 20 games almost every single year he was here, but he helped make that job more attractive to land a guy that is as good as Musselman, a guy that's a former NBA guy, a resume that speaks for himself, a guy that's going to be an out-of-the-box hire because he does things different. He does it his own way. And he's made this Arkansas job more attractive. He's made this school more attractive for athletes, and he's making it to where these national like CBS wants to put you on the TV again. Like ESPN wants to have you on Mondays and Tuesday nights again, something that you haven't been on in years. Haven't been attractive besides the Kentucky rivalry in years. Like Arkansas's now an attractive place, and kids want to play for somebody that's a place that's attractive. And I really think that Musselman's doing a good job of that. And he's, as far as I'm concerned, he can stay at Arkansas as long as he wants to. And
you're talking about places attractive, the best fan base in the country, the best arena in the country, Bud Walton Arena. Now let's throw Cameron Indoor. That's on the class. Just the nostalgia of Fog Allen and Cameron Indoor. But I'm talking about the environment. You're not going to get a better environment than Bud Walton Arena. I mean, you've seen that time and time again with the Kentuckys and the Auburns coming in and the Alabamas coming in. Who doesn't want to play there? And that, again, do you want to go play for a top-tier program that might get you 6, 7, 8,000 people in there that might sound rowdy? It's different. I've heard that place when it's 7, 8, 9,000, and then you hear it when it's 19 too, and it's just it is totally deafening between when you got Bud Walton Arena and the top rafters is jam packed, and I mean a guy like Holland 6'5" or 6'8". I mean, we know they need one more big that can really get them to that level where I think they need to go to a Final Four or national championship. But you cannot help but think if this guy wants to come play this, the roster they could have next year, what that will do for this team.
Yeah, and you think about the shooting woes. Arkansas, like their defense has been far and away the best point in the Musselman era. Like every year, you can always depend on Arkansas having a great defense. Okay, their offense has been lacking. Probably outside of the year they first went to the Elite Eight, that's probably been the most fluid offense that Arkansas has had. The last 2 years, their offense has been way behind, and their defense has been way ahead. This year, you're bringing in a Khalif Battle that can absolutely shoot the three. He's like a 38% three-point shooter. You've got Tremont Mark, who's a 35% three-point shooter. You're bringing in Jeremiah Davenport from Cincinnati, who was a 35% three-point shooter. These guys, and Holland's looking at these guys like, okay, I got some veteran guards that can shoot the rock. I'm not going to have to do it all by myself. Like I can concentrate on being my mid-range three guy and then also bully guys down low. Like he's looking at this roster thinking, okay, like you got Keon Minfield, he was a 30% three-point shooter at Washington, and then you've got another guy that like up and down this roster right now. This is the best shooting roster Arkansas's had under Eric Musselman on paper.
Yeah,
are they going to be enough? Are they going to be good enough to get to Phoenix for the Final Four? That's yet to be known. But on paper, this team just looks stout. Like you can see, it's instant offense. It's not just going to be built around Trevin Brazile and Nick Smith Jr. anymore. It's going to be built around, okay, we got 5 guys on the floor that can shoot at all times. They're all deadly. This is the time for Eric Musselman to have the success and get to the Final Four.
Health's going to be a big deal. We seen what health can do. And, that health turns into people playing out of position. You've seen what Anthony Black, when he was forced to take over that leadership role of the team post Nick Smith Jr., Trevor Brazile gets hurt. You're having guys step up that might be a 6, 7, 8 guy. Now they're having to be a 5 guy. They're having to be a 6 guy. You get a whole roster of guys. It looks like we got 2 or 3 JD Notaes coming on this team this year. That's what you need. The depth. If one guy's having an off night, get the other guy in and he can produce 20. I mean, we said that before the portal opened up and they really started getting these guys. We need 2 guys that can come in and get you 17 to 20 a game on any given night. You need those type of players. If you're going to rely on your outside perimeter game, you've got to have 3 to 4 guys that can get you 15 to 20 a game. And it doesn't have to be 15, 20 every game, but you've got to have 4 guys in your lineup that when it comes down to March and April, that you can put 5 guys out there and all 5 of them is going to get you double digits. That's what it's going to take if you're going to rely on that outside game and you're going to allow for the 4th year in a row, if you don't get these bigs inside to get bodied, you're going to have some guys that can shoot the 3 because I'm telling you, if they would have had 1 or 2 3-point shooters, they could have beat UConn. But when you get out rebounded and you get bodied inside and you're not hitting your 3s, you fixed your free throw percentage toward the end of the year. You got to get guys not only that can shoot 3s, but they can score. Because if you got to start now when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, if guys know you could shoot 3s, they're not going to sit there and just make you beat them on the drive and wait there to get blocks. They're going to respect that you've got gunners outside shooting a 3, and it's going to space everything out, just like we said with the football team. If they know you could pass on top of your run game, they're going to respect both. And that's going to be a big key to seeing how this roster shapes up is it going to be a balance to where they have to respect both aspects of Arkansas's offensive game because that could also be another factor that plays into them getting the national championship.
Yeah, and there's certain situations where Arkansas is going to have to face an elite big man, and it's probably only going to be like 2 or 3 times a year. Arkansas can do what they do. Like if you had to play 5 outs this year and not have to really have a true big man, you may have Makai Mitchell come off the bench, and that might be okay. But and if you add Grant Nelson, that's currently in the NBA draft, but also in the transfer portal out of North Dakota State, you add him. He's 6'11", 235 pounds. That could be your crucial big, because not only can he play down low, he can also shoot the 3 too. So you have 5 guys that can possibly play free throw line extended. And that will help you, especially if you have to come up against a UConn team that has a guy like Sanogo that pulls him away from the basket, that helps you with a 5-out offense, having to go and go after long rebounds and stuff too. That keeps Sanogo away from the basket, gives Arkansas the advantage. So Arkansas has I think, in a way, this could be Musselman's best recruiting job, because he's going out there and getting these proven guys. I mean, whether it's L. Ellis that played for a 4-win Louisville team, but was the focal point of an offense. But he's getting these guys and he's piecing them together, saying, okay, this could be it. This could be the roster that I need to get to Phoenix for a Final Four. This could be the way I'm building it can take away the advantages of like a guy that like a Sanogo or a Paulo Banchero that played for Duke the season before. Because if you think about it, Baylor didn't necessarily have huge big men. They were just a huge physical team.
That's just like, Tennessee when they had Schofield, they were men. It didn't matter if they were 6'8", 6'9", 6'11". They were inside and they were just bodying and bullying them. And that's what again, it's a trade-off. We know what they need. Musselman knows. He knows what he wants to get. He knows what he needs to get. So, and he's done a very good job getting, but that is a huge difference between the Elite Eight and the Final Four, because you're playing Thursday, Saturday. You get a week off and then you're playing Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday, whatever split you're doing. And you're doing that on top of playing a 30, 40 game schedule. I mean, it takes its toll. So if you can get, and again, when you take 2 to 3 guys out of your lineup, come April, you're done. You're having to play a very physical game, very fast-paced game. That's how, and in this era, we run into this era thing where there's so many three-pointers being shot and the shot clock's not being utilized. There's not set plays where you're getting a lot of rest. You need to make sure you got 8, 9, 10 guys that you can rotate in and out. And your second string, just like we were talking about the baseball team. When your 8, 9 guys are playing just like your 3, 4 guys, that's going to be where you're going to separate yourself. And with the SEC, and you need to get to the top of the SEC again, that's just going to help your seeding. And again, getting those seeds where it counts and getting that good draw, opposed to you're playing in that 8-9 game, that dreaded 8-9 or 7-10 game.
Yeah. And for those that are listening today, or if you're going to download the podcast, like, I don't think there's really a worry for that comes from fans. Like, you don't have to worry if Arkansas doesn't land a big in the portal. Like, I think that Musselman's content with who he has. He knows what he has. He knows Makai Mitchell's a very physical guy. Like, he will go after rebounds and stuff. He won't back down from a fight. Trevin Brazile, he may be able to extend to the 3-point line, but he's a 6'10" big man that doesn't mind going up and skying for rebounds. But you got Jalen Graham, who he was very productive at Arizona State his couple of years there. Now he has an opportunity to go into year 2 under Musselman and gain the strength and become the player that Musselman wants to do. He shot 60% from the field last year. Dude's a walk-in bucket. Like, you have instant offense when he comes on the floor. Like, I don't think there's really a concern from Musselman to get a true big, because he has a plan in store for us, as far as, okay, this is the offense that I want to run, and you're going to have to beat me. He's going to be athletic. They're going to be fast, and they're going to be able to shoot the ball. And they're going to be
that's going to be the biggest key, shooting the ball. And again, we're getting these guys in here. They're not used to this SEC play. They're not used to the battles. They're not used to competing against one another. That's the biggest thing too, because Your second, 6, 7, 8 guy, you want to be you want to prove why you're on that team. You want to prove why you need to start. And that's where iron sharpens iron, and you're going to make each other better. I think we're not really going to ever realize just how much the injuries to Brazil and Smith Jr. hurt the team. We're not. We can't, because that just – all right, take KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders out of your lineup, your football team, and then tell them to go finish second or third in the West. It's impossible. That's just what – but they expect, because it's Eric Musselman. They've waited the Elite Eight. They can just plug and play. So, but it's just – that's what it was when you lost your top 2 scorers off your team last year. Take KJ. Yeah. I mean, you just the year before, take KJ and Treylon Burks off your team, and what would you have had? That's what it's going to take for this team to stay healthy. And I think that they're going to, if they stay healthy, they have a chance to, again, be top 1 or 2 in the SEC.
Yeah, and you think about it, like Alabama's already lost one commitment out of the transfer portal. How do they replace him? Because they're obviously going to be in the Grant Nelson sweepstakes. Kentucky's going to be in that sweepstakes as well. Like the further we go, I mean, a lot of the best portal prospects have already committed. Like there's 1 or 2 guys out there that are priority recruits, but I mean the portal's pretty much done until unless there's another window, and I can't remember if there is. I'm sure there is, but right now, I mean, usually by the early June, Arkansas's got their roster set over the past 3 years or 4 years under Eric Musselman.
Some of them go for season play during the summer. You've got to get your team locked in, because look, this is not like the old days. This is a 365-day a year program that's continuing. Yeah. The day after they lose their last game, they're on the road. All right, who can we recruit? You see how they're recruiting right now. Get Holland. Let's get the portal. Let's keep our guys. So it's a continuous, nonstop recruiting. And then you want to get your guys on campus, and then your freshmen come in. So, yeah, it's going to be another great year for Arkansas basketball. And when we get our hopes, up about the players that are coming back and then they decide to leave, but you see where they go too. And that's the biggest key. We remember that in football. These 4 stars are leaving, but then they're going like to North Texas. They're going to SMU, and they're like, you're only as good as your next stop. So now we're in the position where we're getting the number 1 players in the country and not just the number 1 players in the state.
Yeah, and you got to make room for them. If the number 1 player in the country wants to come to you, you find a way to make room. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you have a better option in the transfer portal, you make room. And it's not anything in Musselman's fault. That's how he's done it. He's not only done it here, he's done it at Nevada. He was the importer at Nevada. Like, that's when John Rothstein coined the phrase "the importer" for Eric Musselman, was when he was at Nevada, and he played that transfer game perfectly. That was way before the portal. That was when he had to sit. Guys still had to sit a year.
Yeah,
and that's what's crazy is how Musselman's a trendsetter, and he's still at the top of his game right now, because he has right now, according to 247 Sports, he has the number 3 overall class, but they were number 1 for a moment.
Well, and that's all the consistency. That's what we want, is we want consistency. And, if he's getting us to Elite Eights and every now and then we're getting a Final Four or a national championship, and the way things Arkansas is here, all he's got to do is get one, and he's forever a legend. I mean, let's be real with how Arkansas fan base is and how the program and the success of the program. He gets 1 national championship at Arkansas, you could just etch his name right there next to Nolan. You could put his statue up. That's what it takes at Arkansas. We talking about Dave Van Horn. If he got a national championship, go ahead and just build the statue in front of Baum Walker. And it's crazy that I say that, and it's not digging in any kind of way, but that's what this fan base wants. Other than the football national championship, I guarantee you the basketball national championship is second right there below it, and then baseball. And I think baseball might be 2 because you were that close to getting it. That's the only reason why it would be 2. You knew you were right there. You tasted it. It was taken from you. But if you really want to go down the significance of national championships. You get football way beyond. It's in its own tier. Then you got baseball for right now, and then basketball. But that will all change if basketball wins one before baseball.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of people right now that would sacrifice anybody to go out and win a national championship right now in football.
Some would give their firstborn child.
Yeah, they would. And that's what's cool about Arkansas athletics. Like, this fan base is so rabid. Like, all they want is a winner. And I really hope in our lifetime we will be able to say Arkansas was a winner.
I think between the three sports, you're definitely going to see a national championship within the next 5 years. That's just how everything's building up. Within the next 5 years, you're going to see a national championship. And of course, unless things really, I mean, we're really breaking it down between baseball and basketball. Football's just got a long ways to go, and then who they're competing with LSU and Alabama and Georgia. You know, it's just the fact that you need a lot more in football than you do of what we got in basketball and baseball. Arkansas is on that cusp of winning a national championship in one of those two sports. And I'm telling you, they win a national championship in either one of those. Fayetteville, you might as well just shut Dixon Street down for a week because they're going to be partying like a party crawl.
Oh, yeah. It'd be like 94. I don't even know what 94 was like. I was 3 years old.
It's nuts. I mean, it was crazy just being able to witness it. And because, you know, and not to get political, but the president at the time was from Arkansas. It was cool to see, you know, President Clinton, you know, sitting there.
Yeah.
And it just took Arkansas and then Nolan Richardson to a whole new level. And this was no social media. This was no internet, nothing. There was hardly any of that around. And you're sitting there on top of the country. But that's where Arkansas needs, and the fans deserve it. I've said it many, many, many times on my time being with this podcast is the Arkansas fans deserve a national championship, and I definitely see them getting one.
Could you imagine Hawg Twitter if Arkansas won? Oh my gosh, it would have completely burned down. It would completely burn down. Like Twitter, sorry Elon Musk, but your app is about to crash if that ever happens.
Oh. Well, Jacob, you got anything else before we wrap this up?
Oh, guys, really appreciate y'all tuning in. As always, like us and subscribe to us on Apple or Spotify or iHeartMedia, wherever you can find us on any podcast platform. Also, just you can subscribe, even rate us, maybe leave us a review or two. I mean, that'd be cool too. But, man, just a really good show tonight, guys. Glad you all tuned in. Tune in tomorrow. We got a pretty good loaded show for you for the Women's Sports Report, too.
Yes, we're going to have Ethan. We didn't have him on tonight. He's been really covering the softball team. So we're going to do a preview of the SEC tournament tomorrow with Ethan. Arkansas is the 4 seed coming into the SEC softball tournament, which will be hosted in Fayetteville. Very exciting. That starts on Tuesday. We will be on hand for all the games Arkansas plays in. So definitely tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Me and Ethan will break down the season and heading into the SEC tournament, and we'll catch you then.
Go Hogs.